Hey, welcome to the transportation part of the exam. I'm Steve Mensch, I'll be your instructor for that, and this is just a brief preview. I am standing here, let me tilt that camera down, in front of I-5, just for you. I felt it was appropriate. All right, let's go back up here where I am. So, above the traffic noise in the background, this is the transportation part of the exam. I'll give you a brief preview, and then off we go into the exam. So I teach this in a depth and a breadth section. So the breadth section is the first one. That covers questions in transportation questions that you might see on the morning part of the exam. The depth part will cover transportation questions that are likely to see on the afternoon part of the exam. There is some crossover. If you want to see whether or not you should go to the depth part, take a look on NCES. That covers the topics that are on the afternoon part of the exam. And then take a look at what your afternoon part of the exam topics there are, and if there's crossover between what I'm teaching in transportation, or what's covered in NCES and what I'm teaching, and your part of the exam, you might want to come. Or you might want to come just because it's fun. Like always, I'm going to teach this exam like you want to pass, I want to teach this class like you want to pass the exam, not like you're infinitely interested in transportation. If you are, we have a great master's program for that. If not, my job is to help you work problems and understand how to pass the PE exam. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to work a lot of problems. We're going to go pretty quickly. Some things to think about or realize in the transportation part of the exam. Hey, you and I both know transportation is more than just cars and highways. I'm not sure the exam knows that yet. So this is still largely a car transportation exam. There are the odd pedestrian question and maybe a bike question, but it has a lot to do with automobile transportation. That's just the way it is. Also, there's a big chunk of the exam in transportation concentrating on geometric design. So definitely we'll go over geometric design. You'll probably see a level of service question or two, and that's kind of archaic, so we'll go over how to do that again. And then there are a variety of other things like signalized intersections and things like that. As always, I can't cover all the topics on the exam, so I'm trying to cover the ones that I think are most likely to show up on the exam, and the ones that I think are most likely to maybe have atrophied in your mind since your undergraduate days. Let's see, a couple of things for the transportation part of the exam. There are a fair number of references. Make sure you have as many, if not all of those, if you're taking the depth part in transportation. Because oftentimes the question will be nothing more complex than, hey, go look in this table and see if you can find the value in the table that's in a particular reference. Okay, so that's references. The other thing is transportation standards change over time. It's not like physics, which remains relatively constant over time. So if you have an old transportation textbook, it's highly likely that at least one of the tables in there that's talking about design or design values is outdated. Be very careful in using old textbooks. It's not like using an old textbook for hydraulics. Water still performs the same physically. Transportation, the standards change, the numbers change, so the textbooks have to be updated. So make sure you have the latest version. Civil Engineering Reference Manual is good for that. And let's see, the last thing is be comfortable with the answer as most nearly. The last thing is be comfortable with the answer as most nearly. They'll give you some answers. They'll probably give you an answer that corresponds to what you would get if you did a common mistake, or they'll give you some answers that won't be quite what you got, but pretty darn close, so pick that one. So that's the transportation section. Thanks for coming.